Thanks for watching Nile TV International. It's time for Panorama News Live. I'm Taghreed Hussein, and here are the main stories that make headlines this Monday afternoon. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi instructs to start the implementation of the first phase of the new administrative capital. The High Election Committee holds a press conference on the latest preparations for the first phase of the voting process for the expats. And the Syrian army, the Russian jets advance against the rebels in fierce clashes. Welcome back to the news in full. President el-Sisi gave instructions to start the implementation of the first phase of the new administrative capital project that is due to be completed within 2 years. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi said that the project will be built according to the highest international standards to be a new developed green city, offering better life standard for the citizens and contributing to their aspirations for raising the standard of living. This came during a meeting with the President held with the Vice President for National and Strategic Projects, Ibrahim Mahlab, the Minister of Housing, Mustafa Madbouli, and also a number of high-ranking officials. The President said that the low-income brackets should be given special attention in the new administrative capital that will include all housing standards with the same high criteria, adding that the city should be a model for other projects. In preparation for the Egyptian expats voting process that is set to take place next Saturday and Sunday, Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry inaugurated a training course that is offered to the cadres of the ministry who are to supervise the voting process abroad. The inauguration was followed by a press conference for the Deputy Foreign Minister, Ambassador Hamdi Loza, and the High Election Committee official spokesman Omar Marwan. The conference tackled the latest preparations for the expatriates voting for the 2015 parliamentary elections. Earlier, Marwan reiterated that the electoral body would provide all the logistics for holding free and fair elections, adding that it will also assign a coordinator to organize queues and also guide the voters. The Minister of Immigration and Expats Affairs, Nabila Makram, starts Monday a visit to Kuwait as part of a 2-day tour to encourage Egyptian expats to vote in the upcoming parliamentary elections. The Minister of Immigration invited expats to participate with high numbers in the parliamentary elections. She said during a press conference that all facilities and guarantees provided by the state would ensure the success of the elections and the participation of the expats to choose their representatives in the parliament. And the countdown has already started for the parliamentary elections. The preparations are taking place right now. Many committees are working to pave the way for a fair and transparent elections. One of the most important committees is now the Monitoring, Follow-up and Evaluating Media Committee. Nile TV's Abir Mitwalli was there and filed in this report.
Egypt from the third and final part of the political roadmap put in place after the June 30th revolution in 2013, the parliamentary elections. Many committees are formed to pave the way for transparent and fair parliamentary elections. One of the most important committees is the Committee of Monitoring, Follow-up and Evaluating Media and Advertising Propaganda. The committee is headed by Dr. Hassan Mikawi with a lot of members representing different directions and is located inside the Radio and Television Union in Maspero. The committee consists of a number of members coming from different directions, experts of Radio and Television Union, a number of media academics, National Council for Human Rights representatives, private channels representatives, and the head of the Investment Authority. We are concerned by monitoring, evaluating, and correcting all audio-visual materials broadcasted by both radio and television channels according to certain principles, standards, and mechanisms. We write daily reports and submit our recommendations to the High Election Committee, the HEC, to take the necessary decision. The committee started monitoring daily from the first day of the electoral propaganda until the final results of the original elections and runoff.
First of all, I would like to say that this committee has a limited job to monitor and evaluate the propaganda of election campaign during the first phase and second phase of the election. We have monitored only the space channels, state channels and private channels also, according to some of criteria or principles such as the how to achieve the equality and justice and fairness between all candidates. If any channel, if any program violated these criteria, we made a report and sent it to the Supreme Committee of Election.
Among the principles set by the committee are fairness, equality between all parties during media coverage, emphasizing the respect for national unity, values and traditions of Egyptian society. I am a committee member representing the National Council for Human Rights. We are concerned by following up the programs in radio and television according to certain principles. We did observe some irregularities committed by some channels, maybe 7 or 8 channels, and we sent the report to the HEC. We are preparing now our first report on all channels that violates the principles and standards set by the committee.
وفي خلال الفترة اللي قبل الانتخابات رصدت من يوم 20 ليوم 29 رصدت اللجنة مجموعة من المخالفات.
The elections will be the third parliamentary vote since 2010. The first took place just 2 months before the 2011 revolution in November 2010, while the second vote took place in the winter of 2011-2012.
Egyptians have various requirements, but will the new parliament be able to meet their demands? The question here awaits an answer. This is Abir Mitwali reporting for Nile TV.
And more light on the elections and also expats voting, we're joined over the phone by Mr. Tahir Sharif, the Secretary General of the Egyptian British Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Tahir, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Well, how do you weigh the latest preparations for the expatriate voting for 2015 parliamentary elections, as we know that definitely after the 2 revolutions, expats have a very important role to play?
Yes, actually, all the Egyptians here and the expats, really, they consider that the coming parliamentary elections are a very vital and very important turning point in the political life of Egypt, and we consider that this is the first parliamentary election that will be transparent, honest, and correct.
Right.
So the thing is that most of the Egyptians in the Great Britain are keen to participate and to vote and to go to the ballot boxes. But unfortunately, this, in my point of view, that the turn-up will not be as promised or as we hoped, because most of the Egyptians are living outside London, let's say in Birmingham or in Manchester or in Liverpool or in Wales or wherever. They will have a very limited capability to travel to London to vote for this election.
How can we facilitate? This?
I won't remember that what happened in the constitutional referendum and in the election, the presidential election. The turnout was a bit substantial than it is expected for the parliamentary election.
In your view, sir, how can we be able to overcome any sort of hurdles? I mean, those challenges were there before, but how can we overcome them? That's the question.
There are some proposals that, if we can expand the period of the election, not only for 2 days, because 2 days, is not enough for those who are living outside London, or maybe outside Berlin, or maybe outside Washington, or those really will be it will be difficult for Egyptians to come and participate in the voting area. So we would have loved if they can expand the period of this, or some ballot boxes in bigger cities, like in Manchester or like in Birmingham, that the consulate or the embassies would go and open ballot boxes or voting centers for those who are living outside London. Because, those who are living in London is not the majority of the Egyptians, or is not the majority in Germany, or not the majority of the United States. So I would have loved if conflict or the embassies would move to those, substantial expat groups living outside London for voting. That's exactly it. That's why I'm not very optimistic about the turnout of this.
Sir, the Minister of Immigration and Expats Affairs, Nabila Makram, starts a visit to Kuwait as part of a 2-day tour to encourage the expats there to participate in the upcoming elections. How do you see such moves? How far it would encourage the expats to participate?
With all my respect to the Minister Nabila Makram, she went first to Kuwait, and I think to the Jordan as well.
Yeah.
Okay, and to stimulate the willingness of the Egyptian expats to vote for that. But I would say that it's a very thankful step, but still there are millions and millions of Egyptians who are living in Europe that will not be enthusiastic to go for voting, as well as in the United States, as well as in other European cities, because the distance between the ballot boxes and where those expats are living is huge. In the meantime, a ministerial visit will not help, but practical procedures and practical steps that taken by the Minister of Foreign Affairs
both can go, I guess, in parallel.
The expats for voting, not to wait for them to come. With all my respect to what the minister is doing now, it's okay, but it will not help enough.
Well, all efforts are respected. Thank you so much, Mr. Tahir Sharif, the Secretary General of the Egyptian-British Chamber of Commerce. Ambassador James Moran, the head of the EU delegation to Egypt, said that a team of experts has arrived in Egypt to prepare for the monitoring of the upcoming parliamentary elections. Moran added that observers from 38 embassies will be observing the electoral process and stressed that the stability of Egypt is of great interest to the European Union. Nile TV's Linda Abdel Latif had interviewed earlier Ambassador Moran.
They are going to be going around and finding out, working with the Higher Election Commission, working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and others, and of course with civil society here, about the electoral process. They'll be here throughout this period. We will also have observers from our embassies here. There are 28 embassies from Europe who will work together on the days of the election this month and next, and working together with the local and international community to get a really good view of the overall electoral process. Now, I'm pretty sure that it'll be a good one. Egypt's learned a lot about this in the last 2 or 3 years with all the elections you've been having. I think it's the 6th time since I arrived 3.5 years ago that Egyptians are coming out to vote. And we really want to see the parliament succeed. It's an absolutely essential part of the governance of the country, and I think it's been conspicuous by its absence for the last 3 years, for reasons we all know, given what the country's gone through. But so whatever constructive contribution we can make to an effective parliamentary election and its outcome and the parliament to come, I think is good for us all. Above all, it's fantastic we hope, for the future stability of the country, because stability of Egypt is your interest and it's our interest. Thank you.
Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry heads to New York Monday to take part in the United Nations General Assembly voting on Thursday on Egypt's bid for the Security Council non-permanent seat. During his visit, Shoukry holds a number of bilateral meetings with the foreign ministers from countries that are yet to decide on the vote. Shoukry will also deliver Egypt's speech before the Security Council ministerial session on women and peace. The foreign minister will also attend the ceremony organized by Egypt's permanent mission in the United Nations and attended by 600 diplomats to promote for Egypt's bid for the Security Council non-permanent seat. Ambassador Adel El-Alfi, Egypt's General Consul in Jeddah, announced that the number of Egyptians who passed away in the Mena stampede has risen to 181, whereas the number of the missing has decreased to 53. In a statement issued by the Foreign Ministry, the ambassador said that the Egyptian General Consulate in Jeddah has exerted great efforts to follow up on the repercussions of the stampede. The statement added that the consulate had convened in Mecca with the executive apparatus of Hajj, the heads of Hajj delegations and medical delegation, to review and compare data related to the deceased and the missing. According to the tallies given by the foreign officials, the total death toll from last month's stampede has risen to at least 1,535, making it the deadliest incident in the pilgrimage history. And to the occupied territories, where a new stabbing in Jerusalem's occupied Old City and a car attack spread more